Hi, everybody. Welcome to Captivate the Mic with Elaine Williams. You are in for such a treat today. I have this amazing another guy. I know I was just gonna have women, but this guy is so cool, and you're gonna learn so much from him. Please give a warm welcome to Cam Beaudoin. Cam, so happy that you're here.
Elaine, I'm so happy to be here. It's going to be great. We're going to have such a great conversation about kind of like speaking and audiences and all this kind of stuff. So I can't wait. Storytelling, hopefully we'll get into there a little bit. Video, who knows what? I can't wait. This is going to be super
Who
fun.
knows what? Yeah, I mean I love to prepare and then I love to kind of let go and see what happens. And I'm gonna do another, separate intro for you, but will you tell people who are just tuning in a little bit about you?
Sure, sure. So right now we do lead generation and videos for speakers. Like that's pretty much it. And speakers being people who can monetize the spoken word. And that means like thought leaders, CEOs, corporate owners, like people who are really like, I have a message I want to deliver out into the world. And I think there's a reason like I'm here is to like move audiences and move people to doing something or being something or changing themselves. That's who I serve. And so like how can I get people like that on more stages? And there's a lot of really interesting people, as I'm sure like who identify themselves as speakers. And the deeper I get into this world, the more I'm like, okay, like you find your people through this because a lot of people call themselves speakers. A lot of people shouldn't call themselves speakers, and as I'm sure we're going to get into that.
True, 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 true. And that I guess that's my first, I have a tendency to fall in love with people and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I met the coolest person." And I can't tell you how many times I was like, because I always love to work with coaches. I'm a coach. I believe in coaching. I know you do too. And
Yep.
even though I've been performing since the second grade, I know there's always something else I can learn or add to my bag of tricks. I went to West Texas for the 4th of July and I went to church with the girlfriend I was staying with, and this minister got up and he would crouch down low on the stage and I was like, "Wow. I had never thought about crouching low." And I was like, that's going to be one more thing in my bag of tricks. Now, obviously, depends on the market, the audience, the topic, but using all the space, all the levels, right? And yeah, if you're listening and you're thinking about hiring especially a speaker coach, you want to look and see what they're doing. Because last year I was like, oh, this guy seems great. All these people know him. He's done all these things. I won't say the name of the organization. And all of a sudden, I found a couple of his YouTube channels and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm so glad I did not pay him money, and that's okay. We all need to do our due diligence. But yeah, there's a lot of people who call themselves speakers who have the potential to become a pro speaker. And then I think there's a lot of people who are like experts on subjects and they need help too. So there's a lot of stuff like that, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you said like pro speaker, and I like to like what is a pro speaker? Because I think there's a lot of people out there who have a good idea and they have a good message, right? They're like, oh, I hiked, you know, Everest with a quarter lung, and like, but I think the goal of speaking isn't just to share your story; it's to transform an audience, right? Like, if you're going to go out there and stand on a stage, if you're going to go out there and like, especially when you start asking for money, and when I say money, it's at like capital M with dollar signs at the end of it, right? Like, and people think speaking is quick way to make a couple ten grand, right? Like it's like, oh, I'll go out and speak twice a month, 3 times a month, make 30K per month, and I'm living. I only need to spend 45 minutes to go and make that kind of cash. That's great. And it's like the people the real professionals who the real professional speakers who make a living, and I'm not talking just like a couple $100,000. Like I'm talking about like $1 million of speaking. It's a business. You treat it like when you are not speaking, you are practicing, you are rehearsing, you are like working on your material, you are watching yourself. And so many speakers don't like watch themselves. It's like you compare yourself to an athlete. And so I think unless you're going to commit to that level, like I don't want to say that you're not a pro speaker, but go, think of what you wanted this to think of where you want this to go. Think of like where your ultimate destination is when you call yourself a professional speaker. Like, I want to go and speak for a living. Okay, like what does that mean? Look at the greats. Look at the Tony Robbins and the Brene Browns and the Simon Sinek's and Les Brown, and like think of all these people who've really made a name for themselves as speakers. And by the way, all those people are also coaches, right? So this is
Right.
another big part about speakers. It's like if all you do is get up on stage and speak, like you are first off leaving a lot of money on the table. First
Right.
off, like we could talk about that in a moment. But I've never really met somebody who is like truly a pro speaker who doesn't have some kind of like back end offer. Because the question always is, what have you done?
Right.
What have you done? You've got a good message, great, but what have you done? And I think that's like something that keeps coming back again and again and again with people who are the real exceptional speakers and people who are just like dabbling in this and if it's a hobby. And by the way, I just want to say a quick caveat. If this is just a hobby for you, if you just want to make a couple of extra bucks, a couple times a year, go speak and go travel because it's fun for you, super cool, right? Like,
Absolutely.
not a problem with that whatsoever. But I think it's the same thing in coaching, right? Like, you don't call yourself like a real professional coach unless you can actually create a transformation in a person, right? Like that's probably something that is a good like that's a water line, right? Like you got to at least meet that line.
Yes, I love that, and it makes me think of, I was in New York City for a long time and running around auditioning and did stand up and commercials and voiceover and different things. And at one point, I had been working on this pilot about my making fun of my life, how I could go to Ohio and get standing ovations at the colleges, but I couldn't get my tenants to take out their trash in New Jersey. And I love to make fun of myself because it's never ending. Anyway, so we shopped it. We were semifinalists in the New York TV Festival. We got to be meeting all kinds of really cool heads of studios, and they all kept saying, "We don't know how to make a hit every time. If we did, we would." People, they were like, "I passed on Duck Dynasty." It was fascinating how transparent they were, and they were like, "Keep being creative, keep doing what you're doing." And so I was like, "Okay, I want to make this work." So I reshot, and I met this guy named Anthony Mallory who does the hotel. He was like the undercover boss, undercover hotel dude.
Okay, yeah,
Anyway, he was like a brief kind of mentor. And I sent him my pilot, and he was like, "Yeah, Elaine, it's not compelling." And I was like, "But
right.
he talks about, I'm sober and I'm in recovery." And he goes, "Who cares?" And I'm so grateful. I mean, it was hard, like, oh God. But I'm so glad I didn't keep sinking more money into that project. I learned a lot. Had a great year and a half run. But he's right. It was just like, okay, so you're in recovery and you've helped a few people. Like and I didn't go deep enough, whatever, but it's so important of like, what else have you got? Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Right, right. And I think a lot of like the best speakers, they can relate something that's like timely and relevant and it matters to the audience and stuff like that. Like if you are a speaker on, I don't know, like let's give the example of that guy hikes Everest with a quarter lung and makes it back, right? Like what is that going to do to a room full of marketers? Probably like not that much. Like it's like really, like getting to know your audience and their specific pain points. Like, look, I worked with a speaker once, and she worked at a musical instrument manufacturing company. Okay, really fascinating. Okay, so she does HR in there, and her biggest challenges in the workplace is like when there were changes happening around manufacturing and like where are they going to get this stuff done? Is it going to be like Mexico or China, or are they going to bring all the manufacturing back to the US? And whoops, in 4 years, all that changes again, right? Like how I got to retool all these different places, right? Like that's never happened. But like the challenge that she had around that, like she had to go and face this because she had to fire, like lay off hundreds of
Oh,
people all the time. Like that was her job. Her job was to go and be like, dear team in Mexico, we love you, but we've moved all this to China. See you later. Like, and that was like, okay, I say that like almost comically, but like that was her job to say that. And then, like when I asked her, I said, like, okay, you want to go help all of HR. Like that's such a wide bucket. Like you're gonna like it's so wide. How can we narrow that? I ended up like convincing her because it did take a lot of convincing. It's like, what if you just became the musical instrument HR specialist? Like you're just the speaker just on that. And she's, oh, it's so narrow. I'm like, what are you talking about? So you got like Cord, you have like Steinway, you have uh, I don't know, Casio, you have Yamaha. Like you have all these manufacturers of musical instruments all across the world. That's not including people who make like whistles and all this kind of stuff. Like, do you think that you could make a career speaking for $5,000 or $10,000 to each of those markets? Like you could go and teach them something. Well, yeah, I could. Like, we pulled up some list of like 30 or 40 just off the top of our heads. And it was like that is a business right there. Like just doing that. So I think a lot of speakers too, they're so afraid to niche down and get like really hyper focused on one thing because it's like, well, what if it doesn't work? That's business, baby. Like I don't know how else to say it. Like that's just part of life. Like not everything's going to work out for you the first time you try it. So it's like you got to go in deep. You got to try, and whoops, it didn't work. Great. What are the lessons learned, and how can you take that to the next level, to the next step? So
And
I
you're,
get into a lot of conversations like that.
I love that, Cam. And like I always say, you can sit in a parked car and try to steer it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah,
need to
yeah.
get it going, and you may have to do a U-turn a couple of times, but get going, and
Yep.
yeah, that's so great. And several of my corporate speaking buddies, they showed up and they did a great job. They delivered value. Of course, they were inspiring and motivating, but everybody left with some takeaways and some things that helped, right? And because they did such a good job, then the people are like, what else can you speak on? So that happens a lot too, but you got to be really good and make sure you're delivering tons of value the
Right.
first time. And then a lot of times you are invited to diversify if you have a champion or two in an organization. But yeah.
Right. I think you said it really well just a moment ago. Your CEO buddies, like people who have experience in something, like everybody wants to hear if you were like the VP of client success at Reddit or something like that. Like, like how interesting would that be to go and listen and learn about like what the challenges are at Reddit and how you could apply it to your business?
Oh
Because that
yeah.
person probably has lived experience communicating and dissecting and distilling the challenge that they've experienced at one of the world's largest websites, right? And the challenges there could be similar to other challenges that other companies face too. So like that's something we're working on right now to figure out like how can we find people like that, people who are just so unique and maybe want to use speaking as a lever, as a like a way to open new doors or new experiences, innovation and things like that. And like that's who I'm focusing on now. It's like how do I get even more narrow in what I'm doing? Because hey, like we said at the beginning, like if you're a hobby speaker, awesome. Like, and go make money on that. But if you really want to like change lives, you got to have like this big experience behind you. You got to have like truly lived experiences.
I love that. And you want to be a compelling storyteller, right? Like because to me, you can talk stats but if you're really telling a great story and you're taking them on the ride, it's just so powerful and it's harder than you think. It's in my opinion.
Well, I like to compare storytelling. It's like, if you buy a really good steak, right? You can go and like grill that steak with no seasoning on it, and it'll probably taste pretty good. You get some like Wagyu steak, like no matter what. Back to the example, VP of Client Success at Reddit. Maybe they suck at speaking. I don't know. I don't even know who this is. I don't know if the VP of Client Success at Reddit's going to listen to this podcast, but hey, if they do, listen, look me up. But like storytelling is the salt on there. It just enhances anything that you're doing, right? How do you make these numbers relevant? How do you paint a picture with these stats and data and figures and stuff like that? Because we've all sat through this boring presentation where you're like, oh God, please make it
Right.
stop. But like it doesn't take away from the meat, like the meat. It'll just enhance it. So everyone's got to learn some modicum of storytelling to become a compelling speaker.
Right. Yes, I love that. I love that. And Cam, can you tell people how you got to what you're doing? Because I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, sure. So I was a software developer at IBM. I was given the opportunity to go speak on disability inclusion. So as a developer, I was specialized in making websites and technology accessible, usable by people with disabilities. And I know you probably don't know too many developers who on demo day, when we're supposed to demo for the client, they're like, okay, who wants a demo? And you see all the other developers like back up. They're like, oh, not
Right.
me. Here I am. Me, 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 me. Like, let me do the demo. I love talking to people. So the total opposite from any of the speaker. Sorry, any of the developer. So, but it grew from there. Like I became a specialist in one thing, leaning back to like you have to have a lived experience, you have to have like true knowledge about something, and then I started training and teaching the other teams around IBM, and then from there I was invited and sent off to speak on behalf of IBM at conferences. So IBM would pay my way into conferences and say yes, absolutely, because in their mind that is bringing people in. So hey, just quick deviation here. If you are in a company and you like speaking is a great way to create awareness around your business, right? Like if you're doing a startup or something like that, the best way you can get feedback is to go up in front of people and talk about your product because it's going to create a lot of interest and a lot of like really cool, interesting stories. And it'll challenge you on how well you know actually what you're talking about. So anyway, getting
Yes.
back.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
uh, then I left corporate and I said, hey, I was, a speaker for almost 7 years. And I said, now I can go off on my own and become a professional speaker on this. And I went off on my own. and I got crickets. And I got crickets because I didn't realize how powerful those logos were behind you. You know, everyone wants to hire the IBM speaker, or
Sure.
we've got a couple big banks here. So that was a big wake up call to me as well. It's like, oh, okay. So a lot of my clout was riding on the coattails of IBM about these big organizations. And plus, they weren't paying me to go in and speak. They were just like maybe giving a free ticket or something like that because I was IBM. So that was a very quick realization to the real world of speaking, what it's all about. So that's when I started to get into coaching and stuff. But what I realized, I had all these speaker friends, all these like because I took coaching programs around speaking and stuff. A lot of my speaker friends said, "You know what, Cam? Like I don't have a good video, like a good demo reel." And I said, maybe that's a problem I can come solve. And I think that entrepreneurs were problem solvers by default. Like
Right.
that is like really ingrained in us. So I said, I can go solve that problem. So I did. We started making demo videos, and that snowballed into becoming like a mini, like a booking agency and stuff like that for speakers as well. So that is the journey. It was speaking in big corporate, and then moving off into my own space, and then just kind of keep solving problems. That's it.
I love it. I love it so much though, because I've met a lot of people who make big promises and I don't think they can back them up, and or I know they haven't. And I've worked with a few of them, and so I is there something you want to tell people if they're, like maybe they've been speaking for a while and but they feel frustrated and they want to get more bookings, or do you have some super tips?
Yeah, and you're not going to like it. No one's going to like it. The answer really is do more. Okay, like, and I know we all think we're doing enough, right? And I'll tell you exactly what happens. You know, there's that Dunning-Kruger effect. You kind of go up and you're like, oh, I'm speaking. I'm so popular. I'm so famous. I'm so amazing. You get to this peak, and usually that happens in like June, July, August are the three busiest months for speaking. Everyone's creating conferences around then. And then for the next 6 months, you will get no bookings because you haven't done the work to create opportunities for yourself. So when I say do more, it really does mean get out and speak more, do more outreach, send more emails, create more content. And it sucks because it's not like the seeds you plant today, you won't see for 18 months. I
Right.
want to get that in everybody's head. Really, truly. It's like people think it's, oh, I'm a great speaker. I've got a great topic. I've been paid before. I was so busy in the summertime. And now I deserve those $15,000 speaking gigs because I'm just going up and up and up. But that's not how business works. That's not how this whole industry works. It's on built on relationships. It's built on a ton of outreach and doing free work and free gigs. Like I keep trying to tell a lot of my speakers, I said, hey, what if I could get you in a gig at Amazon or Microsoft or something like a big company like that? It would be free. You'd do a lunch and learn, but it would create opportunities for you. And I'm gonna get about half and half people who are like, sign me up. Like I would definitely do it. And then the other half were like, I'm too good. Like I don't want to do a free gig. And I just wonder like why? I know that you have a big corporate executive job right now, but like you can go and create opportunities like that. And really what people are asking me to do in the end is like, Cam, can you make me famous? And I love what you said earlier on. Like we don't know what makes a hit. Like you can't create fame. Like it has to come organically and naturally, and kind of you have to just do more. I parallel this with a lot of actors, and I've spoken to a few who maybe maybe you can tell me more than I know, but I've known actors who say just because you have an agent doesn't
Ah,
mean you're going to get the lead role.
it doesn't mean anything. Yes. And now a quick message. Are you a female business owner or a female in corporate and you know it's time to work on your speaking? You know it's time to work on your executive presence. You know it's time. You are meant for more. My name's Elaine, and I've helped hundreds of people just like you get more comfortable, more confident, and become a truly charismatic speaker. So that whenever you stand up to speak, whether it's in front of 5 people or 5,000, people lean in anticipation. When you are a charismatic speaker, you have an unfair advantage, and people can't even put their fingers on it. So if this resonates with you, if you're ready for more, you know you're meant for more, click the button below. Let's schedule a call. I'd love to chat with you and find out what you're up to, what you're committed to, what you're excited about, and see if there's a way we could possibly partner or work together. And now, back to the show. That's so
Right? So
so great, Cam. And yeah, I mean, I think it's human nature. Like we all want the magic pill. How many
we
diet
do.
pills are still on sale on the internet? 40,000. Deep down, we know it doesn't work. And yet there's a part of me that's like, maybe this, right? Like, I think it's human nature. And I remember and I'm glad we don't know how hard things are going to be, right? Like, you have three kids. Aren't you glad you didn't know how hard it was going to be? I mean, I'm sure you love it. I'm sure you're engaged and have fun, but I'm sure there are times you're exhausted and you're like, this is really hard.
Oh yeah,
And
totally. There's a reason why I work from like, 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9. I'm free. Then I come back down to work at 9 from 9 to whatever midnight. Like I got to put in those extra hours because you never know when one's going to get sick and makes the whole family sick or something like that. I got to put in that extra time.
oh yeah, you get curveballs with kids, yeah. And I remember when I moved to New York, I had this dream of, being on Broadway, and I really thought once you're on Broadway, that's it. And I
Right,
I remember
right.
being in a casting director's office, and there were stacks and stacks of headshots and resumes with people who had Broadway credits. And I was like,
Totally. Yeah.
oh, like I remember I was like, wow. And I think and then when I started doing stand up, I had beginner's luck, and I had a couple of really hot sets at Gotham, and I remember these female comedians who are notoriously mean to other females, but they were like, Elaine, oh my God, you have it. Keep doing it. You should have your own sitcom in 3 years. And of course, reality TV came and changed that train, but I was so grateful for that. But you have to really want it and be willing to keep doing the work.
Yep. Yep, yep. And that's why, like, when I became an entrepreneur, it really opened up my eyes. Like, I'm glad I did it the way I did because I was a speaker first, and then I got slapped with entrepreneurship. It's like, oh, it's the same thing. Like, the product is you. And that's why it hurts so much to send out 100 emails and getting zero responses. Like, because they're not just rejecting what you're offering, they're rejecting you. The email came from you, right? And so, I also compare this a lot to authors, right? We hear the stories like Harry Potter, right? How many publishing houses did she send that to? Like the
Right.
story goes, and I don't know off the top of my head, but like there are lots of stories of lots of authors who send their manuscripts to lots of publishers and they get turned down, refused. But then you get the one. And then one turns into two, and then two turns into four, and then you hear nothing back, and you got to start back from zero. I heard this really great analogy, and I can't stop thinking about it. It's like imagine you have 100-sided die, right? Like you keep rolling it. Now all the sides are red, but as soon as you roll the die on one number, it changes to green. So you just got to keep rolling that dice. You just got to keep rolling it until you happen upon a green again, right? You're happening on the same number, and you got to roll it 50, like 70, like so many times before you get that green showing up again and again and again. And because event planners, they want to reduce risk. That's their
Yep.
whole goal, right? They don't want to put somebody up on stage that they can't prove, not to the audience, because the audience almost doesn't care. I mean, they do care, but who they're really trying to prove it to is
Their
the board of
boss.
directors,
Yeah.
their boss. Because, right, the normal process of getting up on stage is you have an event planner, event coordinator who takes in your application or who takes in your email and says, I think we should move this to the next level. They're your gatekeeper, right?
Right.
The gatekeeper moves it up to whatever the board or their boss or someone like that said, hey, we've got something here. But they almost have to pitch you to their boss. So if you don't have enough like meat in there, if you don't got something like really special, something interesting, you get passed on. Not right now, not really interesting or stuff like that. So I have heard of event planners who don't do their job properly, who push to get somebody onto their stage. They flop and they get fired because that's a $15,000 mistake, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there are risks all over that these event planners, event coordinators are trying to mitigate. So that's why when you go to the yearly conference, your association's conference, and you see the same people come up again and again and again,
Because
that's
they're
why,
trustworthy,
because
because
they're
they
trying to
trust
reduce the
them.
risk. They're like, oh gosh, I know
'Cause
he's
their
the same
butt is
guy as
on the
last year.
line.
Yeah, people don't want to. So you have to think about that. Like, am I reducing the risk of the person who's there? And I think a great way of doing it is no one's gonna love it. Go to speak for free. Go like rock that freaking workshop until you're so popular in workshops that oh my God, people are like, can I pay you? Can I please pay you? And that's
Yes.
what's working. Yeah.
Yes, Cam, I love that. I had as a new comic, you're trying to get on stage and you don't really know how to write yet. And I remember and I would complain to my mentor, rah, rah, rah. They like, because it was a boys' club, which has changed, and she said, Elaine, you cannot control the politics. You cannot control who knows who and who's, the boss's niece's friend's uncle's grandfather, right? Like there's so many things, but you can be undeniably funny or undeniably great, and that will move mountains. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of speaking for free. I mean, I'm doing that all the time because I was very spoiled. I had several agents and it was great, most of the time. So I'm relearning how to do it too. And I would say if you're speaking and it's been a minute, go put together a workout room either on Zoom or in person. Get three or four speakers of your same level-ish and say, okay, everybody gets 5 or 10 minutes, and then we
Yep.
maybe we'll do 2 minute
That's
feedback,
awesome.
whatever, and
Yep.
run it like a mic. You got to be straight with the time. So, but that is one of the best ways. How do you get better? You keep doing it. I think of speaking
Totally.
as sport. You don't just go to the
Yes.
gym and you're
Yep.
like, I'm good. I went on Monday. I'll go next
Yep.
month.
I'm
You gotta
totally cool. Yep.
go. You gotta
Right.
go. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love
and
that.
I built up a lot of clout by doing Eventbrite and Meetup.com. So both of those, like this is just as the pandemic was ending. I reached out to every single tech meetup in Ontario and like New York. I spoke at Microsoft. I got to speak at a bunch of like startup tech conferences. This is all about like accessibility and making sure technology is usable by people with disabilities. Like not a sexy topic to talk about because here
Right.
I'm going to talk to you about what it is to have a disability and how you can mitigate it. But I got like 16 gigs. Like, this is not just like a one done. And from that came other opportunities. From that, somebody saw me, asked me to go and speak for $7,500 at their company. Oh
Nice.
my gosh, all of a sudden that 17 gigs was worth it. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is the reality of becoming famous. And it's like you got to put in the time. And I think that once we get a taste of fame, and you probably know this better than I do, like once you get that taste, it's like, oh, I want that again and again and again because it's like the lights are on you, you're the center of attention, and that's what speaking is, right? I get to just share what I know, and that's it. Then I get paid. It's so cool. Like what an amazing job. But like that's really hard. It's really hard because if everyone could do it and everyone is doing it, maybe we should talk about that. Like how many more speakers there are these days than there ever has been before. Then like if it was so easy, then
Everybody would, yeah.
everyone do it.
Well, I want to say one thing and then jump into that. So, I would go and I would speak in Iowa, and it would be standing room only. And of course, those are the ones you don't tape, right? When you're like on fire and you're like, I didn't tape that one. And kids lining up to take pictures and hug and for autographs. And, I would just come back like, whoa. And then you come back to New York and you're just one of a million
Right,
up and
right.
down, and you're back at your restaurant job. And so I think one of the challenges that I want to speak to is, yeah, you have gigs where you're like, I was a rock star. I had the most beautiful suite. They gave me a welcoming thing. They picked me up at the airport. And then there's some where they're like, you're the comic over there. Like like you feel like a dog, and so learning to ride that ride, which you can also, every audience is different. And so sometimes the material that just killed the night before, I'm talking comedy, but it can also be
Yep.
speaking,
That
doesn't
is same thing.
always
Yep.
land. And so I think if you're really committed to growing and coming from a place of service, that will help you ride the ride. Because if you
Right.
just want to be famous or be an influencer, that is a painful, painful place to come from. And ask me how I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
I
Yeah.
have an ego, and I love the red carpet. I'm not gonna lie. I am a total ham. But I know when I'm coming from a place from the inside out of I pray to use my story for good and to show others how to do the same and come
Right.
from a place of service. I had three addictions. I'm an assault survivor. I'm so lucky to be here and be healthy and alive. So when I come from that place, it helps me ride
Right.
that ride. They love me. Oh, they didn't really, I
Yep.
don't
Yep.
know, all that. But yeah, let's talk about everybody and their dog is trying to be an influencer. And I love dogs, but uh, so how do we stand out even more, right? I mean, obviously you said niche down earlier, but what else can we do, Cam?
Record everything. Like I'm a big believer in even if you don't use it right now, So I made a change to my business recently. Okay, like let me give you the perfect example. Okay, so what I used to do is when we record a demo reel, and for anyone who doesn't know, a demo reel is kind of like your teaser trailer for who you are as a speaker. Okay, what I used to do is I would set up, I would go book a studio, I'd go book a film crew, I would like tell the speaker bring your laptop and put up Zoom, and I will interview you through Zoom. Great experience. Like I got some of my best interviews like that. Believe it, it's really good. But then I'm like, what would make an even better experience is if I flew down to for every single client, and like I'm in Canada, right? Like going across the border is not cheap. We got to fly down, I gotta like wake up early, and it's
I got to
four
get through
hours to get anywhere. Like,
customs,
it's a big
and
problem.
Canadian
Like it's not
customs
like I'm
is the
flying from
worst.
LA. Oh my God, it's the worst. So, but if I commit to doing that, and yeah, it costs me extra to go do that, but the experience with the client is so much better. Like not just a little bit better, so much better, so much better. I hear the feedback from the client. I hear the feedback from my editors. I hear the feedback in the way that the video is created because I can tell someone, hey, stop, whoa, whoa, you're two in your head. Let's shake it out, shake it
Right,
out, shake it. Okay, great. Let's
right.
reset here a little bit because you get all hammed up, especially if you're not in front of camera too often, or maybe you're trying out
Sure.
some new material and you get all like inside and you're like something like that's really hard to do over Zoom. Yeah, no matter how good it is. So I would like cherry pick the speakers that I would do on Zoom versus in person. Now I'm just like I fly down to everybody and I fly all over North America now to create this interview experience so that when we get there, it's 90 minutes of just like focused work. And then plus, I get to create content for myself too. So
Yeah,
as the business owner, I create content of me recording other people and now I get
right.
to put that on social media. So it's like all this stuff. Like you should be like budgeting $600 to $1,000 every single gig. So I wish I had recorded those 16 gigs just to have me holding a microphone in front of an audience. Forget what I was saying. Like forget all the stuff that I was saying. The
Right.
content doesn't matter. But
It doesn't.
I had to have one guy there with a tripod and a gimbal walking around, or gimbal.
Gim-
Never can figure it
Gimbal. Yeah.
out. Like to have them walk around, I get two 4K shots of it. Yeah, I got to pay $600, but I say just unedited, just give me the raw files and put it away. You never know when you're going to pull it out and use it. It'll always come up at some point.
Yes,
So
I love
yeah,
that. I say
yeah,
that to
yeah,
my
yeah,
my video clients all the time when I teach short form. I was like, even if you have good hair and makeup, if you have a good background, even if you're like, I'm not sure what to say, I want you to take pictures and you just tell a story, we can dub over it, but use it because you're
yep.
always going to need more footage. So,
More.
yeah, I love that. And so what else can people do to help set themselves apart? I think you spoke a little bit about like think about the takeaways, think about the value that they're bringing to their audiences.
Yep. Okay. So before I go into that, I want to talk a little bit about videography because there's one really
Okay.
important thing that I've learned recently,
Okay.
and it just stuck with me so well. So I don't have a film background. Okay. So none of that. So I'm learning from a business person, a marketing person about film, more about how to persuade over film. So I heard of the 9 shots that you should be taking whenever you go out and record something. Okay.
Oh,
So you gotta have like an exposition shot. So if you think about like this is the scene before, and this is good for B-roll whenever you're going to go record anything, and you will always use your B-roll for the rest of your life. For the rest of your life, unless you've got like, you go from full head of hair to no hair or something like that. Like you'll wear a hat. So get 2 shots of exposition. So get a rolling camera shot of
yep.
the studio. Take your phone out and just like record the crowd like this,
Yes.
or take a wide shot and say everybody cheer, woo! Like do something like that. Like make sure you're in the shot too. Kind of get like this. Okay, there's your exposition shot, right? You got this big stuff that's has no real focus. Then you get a wide shot. And that's a little bit different because there's no movement in wide. You just want to have kind of like a big shot of like everything's going on. Your cameraman should be able to take these 9 shots. Just tell him, do this for me. So from the back of the room, they're just going to take a big wide angle shot of you. And if you can get video like that, it works really well too. Because then you see all the people who are like cheering with you or clapping when moments like these are audience interaction shots. You want 2 wide shots. Then you want 2 narrow shots. So of you, head to knees ish, kind of like, right? Like that kind of shot. So,
Three quarter.
you
Yeah.
know, follow you. Yeah, 3/4. So they're, and it's either following you or just so that you get an idea of like who you are as a speaker as well. So it really connects people to you. You should get like a close up of you. Then you want 2 shots that are kind of like mid-range, that kind of movement as well. That's your gimbal shots and stuff like that. And then finally, you want one creative shot. This is you getting ready. This is you walking up on stage. This is you shaking hands with people. So like these are the 9 shots that are you'll use this forever, forever. Like I looked at Mel Robbins, big speaker, like Mel Robbins demo reel the other day, and I'm like, she looks way younger in this shot than that shot, but it's a B-roll. So who cares?
Who
Like, you know,
cares?
like it doesn't matter. So you will always, always, always use that content for the rest of your life in social
I
media,
love that.
anything. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
When in doubt, take it. And
Just roll it. Yeah.
yeah, and if you're a female and you're waiting to lose 5 pounds or whatever, stop.
Don't worry
Like
about it.
shoot from above, wear black on from the waist down, and get over it because people
Yep,
need
yep.
to.
But hey, that's a big lesson that I had to learn myself as like a director on set, right? I had to learn to remind people, women especially, right? To, hey, if you're going to come here, I want you to treat this as if you're going to go speak on stage. Like, don't just show up. Show up as if you were going to get hired. And that's like, it's tough. I don't have that problem. Men and women have different problems. I don't have that problem. I can show up in a hoodie and it's no problem. But I have to remind my female clients, like when you're going to show up here, show up looking like you're ready to go and rock the world,
Yeah, have
because
your
that will make
Spanx.
you feel more confident. Yeah, whatever you need, whatever you need. Whether that means you do a 3-hour hair and makeup in the morning, you wear or whether it's like tracksuit or like military uniform, like whatever you need. But you show up as if you're gonna like as if this is a $15,000 speaking opportunity, because that's what you're putting out there, and that's the big thing that I have to like remind people of.
I love that, Cam. And anything else you wanted to say about like the value, the takeaways?
Sure. So there's always a transformation. So the first thing I would say is that whatever people come up to you and ask you about, either after a talk or whatever you speak about, maybe you tell your story about hiking. Let's do Kilimanjaro this time on Coeur d'Alene. You go and hike a mountain on a Coeur d'Alene. Like, what do people come to you afterwards and say, that was so amazing? You have to go and exploit that. You have to go and really dig deep into those areas. I heard a personal branding exercise recently, and it's like we share too much of our successes, and yet we don't really talk about our faults. Yet it's the faults that humanize us and create memories. And it was so interesting to me because this is Chris Do. I'm not sure if you know Chris Do or have heard of him. He's a YouTuber, and he's the owner of The Future. Really, he doesn't only, he's a design firm, but he talks a lot about personal branding. And he says that you should have like a 2-word intro and think of like, write down a bunch of negative words about yourself and see which one really stings. And that's kind of like your keyword. And mine's being a coward. We can dig into that if ever you want to, but that was like a really like deep word to me. And I can talk about like, yeah, there's a whole, so now what I do is it helps me write content. It helps me when I interview people. It helps me because I know that's my pain point, and I know I need to focus on that to make sure that's not going unchecked. So if
Wow.
you can take a moment and think of that exercise, like think about like what word is it that that really stings. And you can then, I don't have to go up on stage and be like, I'm a coward. I don't have to say that. But what I can say is I can talk about being a coward in these certain moments and sharing that, because that's my personal pain and my personal problem. And so like those types of things are what moves people, and digging into that even more is really powerful. So that's like a bit of storytelling, a bit of takeaways. So it's the moments that move people. It's the moments that people come to you afterwards after a talk and says, this was good. And you're like, oh, great. Thank you. And like you take notes of that.
I
What?
love
Yeah.
that. I love that so much. And I would love to just a caveat is I think sometimes women will get so into their story and so into their faults that they don't always remember to, like how did you get out, or what does this have to do? How is this
What's
going
the
to help me?
transformation? Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We always have to bring it back to transformation. I was here, I had this problem. What's the hero's journey? Remember,
Right.
the hero's journey, in the hero's journey story, the hero is the weakest character in the story. That's why they have the transformation, right? They're weak. Frodo is weak. He doesn't know how to go and defeat Sauron or throw the ring into Mount Doom. He doesn't know. He is the weakest character. Harry Potter, super weak character at the beginning. He is a child who lives under a staircase, right?
Yeah.
Weak, weak, weak character becomes the hero. So you don't want to identify as that, like, if there's no journey, if you're just talking about all the problems, imagine if the whole book of Harry Potter was just written about how this poor boy lived under a staircase. No transformation.
Oh,
Terrible.
be depressing. Right.
It never would have gotten picked up, right? So it has to be the transformation. This was the scenario before. This is the problem. I learned this. I overcame that. Now here's where I am now. Doesn't mean you're problem free. Just means you've learned. It means
You've
you've
learned how
graduated.
to
You've gone
navigate
through
it and
it.
manage it. I love that. Thinking about what is my biggest pain point and having that be like my North Star. I think that's brilliant, Cam. Wow. I mean, I could talk to you forever, but I know we're both super busy. So if people want to follow you and want to, what's the best way to stay in touch? If somebody especially wants to learn from you, but also possibly look doing a demo reel with you.
Yeah, thefrequentspeaker.com. That's the website. But I'm most active on LinkedIn out of all places. So find me on LinkedIn, Cam Beaudoin, or you can go to the Frequent Speaker and find me there, stuff like
I
that.
will
So
I'll put that all
that's
in
it.
the show notes.
Perfect.
And wow, thank you
Awesome.
so much for your words of wisdom and your energy. It's so nice to meet, cool dudes. And is there one parting thing you want to leave people with?
I think that I have met so many people who don't come from a typical like speaker background though. So when somebody says that, like, oh, my topic's not sexy, it's not interesting, I'm just going to quit. Let's say it's like, no, you just haven't found the thing that triggers people. Like, you just haven't found it because everything in life, social media, business, dating, really, like, it doesn't work until it does. And then when it does, it kind of skyrockets. Like, and because all the work that you've put in before, all of a sudden just starts to click, and you're like, oh, look at that. Like, oh my God, like it just starts to work. So maybe someone who is a speaker and is not you're not getting any success and you listen to this podcast, you're like, oh my God, this guy is now telling me to go do more. Like I'm already doing so much. I'm sending out 100 emails a week. But then all of a sudden it just clicks and it works. And you read some article on like how to compose a good cold email to a event planner. And not one person interviews. Then you learn about like, oh crap, I got to go learn how to sell. And you go learn how to pitch something properly to corporate. And then it freaking works. And then you get paid what you feel like you're worth. And then you're like, how can I just replicate that whole experience again? Because like lightning comes from both the ground and the sky. It needs to connect in the middle, and just like it shoots there in the middle, and then it just works, right?
Oh, I
Like
love
lightning just
that.
happens. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you gotta keep just pushing, and you gotta keep trying stuff. And sometimes it's your message, sometimes it's your delivery, sometimes it's your pitch, sometimes it's your follow up. There's a million things you got to do. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship. You can do it. Everybody, like many people have. So that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Cam. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. I will have all his info in the show notes. And thanks so much for watching and listening. Until next time. Bye.
Thanks for having me. See ya.